Already feeling a little bit refreshed? Got moved a
A
little?
little bit. Yeah, a little bit,
Ready for round two? It's a marathon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Today is a marathon. Let's go get it. So I see Lisa, she says, first to go by Lisa.
Gotcha.
Looks like is in the waiting room. I'm going to bring her in because the awesome hits just keep coming. She's with Avidity, and they've got more exciting work in the FSHD space. Hi, great to see you.
Hello there. Hi. Welcome. Thanks for being on the Radiothon here with us. You're the Senior Vice President, Clinical Development at Avidity Biosciences, right?
That's a mouthful. Yes. Thank you.
Well, that's why you're after my break, because then I can actually say that without fumbling too much.
Yeah.
So, tell us what is happening at Avidity. I know you have that space where what Avidity is doing is exciting, but that's why you're here. I want you to tell those that are watching, listening, etc. What is the good news coming from there?
Yeah. So Avidity is developing drugs that we are RNA targeted therapeutics. Okay. But we are working on technology to solve the problem of getting these types of RNA therapeutics to tissues other than the liver. So all of the drugs that we're developing are antibody oligonucleotide conjugates. So it's actually like a platform technology. And so all the drugs have three components to them: a monoclonal antibody, an oligonucleotide or an oligo, and a linker. And the linker is just to connect the oligo to the antibody. And the job of the antibody is only really to just deliver that oligo into the tissues that we want it to get into. And you can think of the oligo as the active component of the drug. It's doing what we intended to do, which is target the underlying genetic cause of a disease.
So then we heard earlier, excuse me, that we had a delivery mechanism like virus. They're using a virus to deliver to the area. So this is different, right?
Very different. Yes, okay. It's a monoclonal antibody that's is the workhorse for the delivery in our case.
Okay. Why that mechanism is Avidity targeting or using?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think getting these drugs into tissues like the muscle has been a problem for a very long time, and a lot of people have been working on how to do that. And there's a lot of different approaches and ways to solve it. And Avidity's, been around for over 10 years, and our scientists tried a lot of different things. And what they came up with was the best way in their experiments to deliver these RNA therapeutics was using the monoclonal antibody approach. And it took a long time for them to figure out how to get it to work. It wasn't a very easy problem. It took a lot of tinkering. It matters what antibody you're using. It matters how you're connecting the oligo to the antibody. It was very technical, but they were able to get this technology to work. And antibodies have been around for a really long time. Right. So the technology is known, the safety is known. We know how to manufacture them. So that was also a big plus for using antibodies in our technology.
Why is it so difficult to have treatment delivered to muscle?
That's a great question.
It just, well, you said, you kind of said it like, it was, and as we know, it's difficult to deliver to muscle. And I'm like, well, why is that? Now, I'm of course thinking of this. I'm not a scientist, right? And I'm a person with FSHD. So I'm like, well, if I was, sitting here thinking, why is this so darn difficult? Which is probably why it's difficult.
Yeah.
To treat the situation that we're in.
Right. So for RNA therapeutics, they just because of their physical chemical properties, like antisense oligos, just naturally will go to like tissues like the liver or the kidney. The liver, takes up a lot of things, and the kidney is filtering things, and so it's very easy to get drugs into those tissues. But the muscle is a really complex tissue, and it's a lot harder for things to get across and to get into the myocytes. This is really where they need to do to be able to be effective.
So is it because too, I heard earlier, like explanation of like cells turning over. Is that part of the difficulty then, because the muscles don't do it as much?
It's not
Am I
so much.
totally off base here in my?
It's just really just getting these drugs, past the membrane and into the center of the muscle cells where they need to be doing their job, which is in the cytoplasm or the nucleus, depending on the mechanism for the particular muscle cell.
Okay. And Avidity is you working on? Is it a phase 2 plan? Is there a plan for phase 2? I don't know how much you can talk about that part of the, as you walk into that part of the trial, but what can you talk about, to the community kind of curious of where they are with phase 2?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're developing a drug for FSHD that uses an antibody that will then, bring the oligo into the muscle cell. And then the oligo is targeting the root cause of FSHD. So it is blocking the production of DUX4.
DUX4, okay.
So we're really excited about the potential of this drug, and we applied for an IND to initiate a phase 1/2 first-in-human clinical trial, and that IND was cleared by the FDA in September of this year. So we are busy getting ready to initiate that trial, and it's called the Fortitude trial, and it's a phase 1/2 trial that will be run in adults with FSHD 18 to 65. Approximately 70 people will be enrolled.
And is that enrollment open right now?
Not now, but it will be in the near future. And, we'll be talking with the FSHD Society and posting it on clinicaltrials.gov and other places for people to get more information if they're interested in it.
And you're looking for 70 people. Doesn't sound like a high number. So are you confident getting that quick?
Yeah, that's about the size of typical phase 1/2 clinical trials.
Okay.
And, in rare diseases, it's always a challenge with the recruitment to find the patients. I know that it's a big commitment for people to do. They often have to travel to the clinical sites. And so it can be a bit of a challenge, but we're hopeful that the community will be interested and be willing to help us evaluate this exciting drug.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been one of our main themes as we've had different guests on. Obviously, Giving Tuesday, it's the financial support, donating, of course, with our match that helps. It's also community involvement. We are a little bit worried that there's not going to be enough people in the pipeline to help with these trials and studies and so forth. So we really want to make sure that the community is awake to the idea that, hey, we have to be ready to answer the call when needed so that something doesn't slip through, that a good treatment just doesn't go by the wayside because we didn't have enough people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then how long then does the phase 2 part go for, and then what's the next steps going forward after that? Obviously phase 3, I would imagine, but
right. Exactly. Often in rare diseases, you do see that where you'll have a single phase 1/2 trial, and then you would go directly into a phase 3 trial. So our phase 1/2 trial has 3 parts to it. Part A, Part B, and an expansion part. And so the part A is for a couple doses at a lower levels that really allow us to get into part B at the dose levels we think are going to be efficacious. Okay. And that was about 9 months of dosing using IV infusion. Our drugs are given mostly as quarterly dosing with a booster dose at week 6.
Okay. And with all this hope with the treatment you're trying to develop, or is this a treatment you're hoping that completely, I know you mentioned stops DUX4, but also to rebuild any muscle loss as well, or no?
Yeah, so that's a great question and something we'll be studying when we go to the clinic. We do have animal models where we've studied this drug, and we have shown that this drug can increase the muscle strength in the mouse animal models. But you really need to do your clinical studies to find out how it's going to work. We hope that we will slow down or halt the progression of the disease and halt some of the inflammatory processes and whatnot to allow the muscle to perhaps get stronger again. But that's just really something that we will be evaluating as we go along.
It's very exciting. I mean, what do you hope that to achieve, to the fact that you came on today, helping us out, obviously promoting Giving Tuesday. But is there a call in our community that you want us to be aware of? How can FSHD community help?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Patients are at the center of everything that we do at Avidity. And our goal really is to make drugs that are very beneficial, that are transformational for the FSHD patients. And in order for us to do that, we as drug developers really need to understand the disease from the patient's point of view. And we need to understand what means, what is they care most about, what symptoms are most bothersome. We need to understand how fast the symptoms progress, what are the differences between two different people with FSHD. We know this is a very variable disease. All of that information is so critical for us to be able to design a drug that's going to be beneficial and really matter. And also for us to design our clinical trials so that we can answer the question, does this drug do what we want it to do? Is it affecting things that the patients really care about? And so I would say the call to the community is really to be involved in any way that makes sense to you. There's a lot of different ways that maybe are easier and quicker, and other things that would need a much more commitment.
Yeah.
But it's really the deep partnership between Avidity and biotech and the patient community and the patients that allow us really to do a good job developing these drugs.
Well, we appreciate you continuing that connection here. Thanks for being here, spending some time with us, letting us know what Avidity is doing. If you want to learn more, aviditybiosciences.com is the website. Anything else that I missed, Lisa? I want to make sure
No, just thank you so much for inviting me here. It's been fun.
Absolutely. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Enjoyed the time with you as well. And thanks for helping our community and everything you and Avidity are doing for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Then the science is just, man, if my biology teacher could see me now, or chemistry or whatnot,
I'd be like, so proud of you.
Way. I don't know about that. I don't know if I get carried away, Lee, with that.
They'd be shocked, maybe.
Yeah, I think they may have been more shocked, maybe amazed.
I don't know. It's pretty awesome. Well, and as she was talking, I was thinking, what? She's right. The community is very varied, and each patient is unique. Yeah. And I think it's important that we want that first domino to fall, but then we need the second, third, the fourth, because when that first treatment comes in, it won't work for everybody. There will need to be, and it might not solve everything, but it's going to be when the first domino falls, that is what starts the chain reaction, right? And when you can get one thing approved, then the next one comes along. It's a little easier to get the next one approved. And then we learn more, and it's a little easier to design the next successful trial and get the next one approved. And so it's all about continuing to keep the flywheel going, get those dominoes, get that first domino down and let the rest of them start to fall, because we'll need multiple treatments until we have a cure, and we might need multiple cures because people in different stages of their FSHD development, it might require something different in order to cure them. And so, that's the heavy lift here, right?
Because the disease is so different. It affects us all so different. So that means the treatments are probably going to be different.
That's exactly right. And we may be able to provide, there may be a cocktail of treatments. It may be this one slows the progression. The next one might stop it in its tracks. The next thing might help rebuild. The next thing, there may be a cocktail that happens. There may be one that builds on the next, but all of that's important, and we want to keep it all, moving forward.
Cocktail. Did you just say cocktails?
It's not 5 o'clock.
Oh, I thought somebody was delivering. I'm like, Lee, I'm sorry.
No.
I don't really drink that much.
Too many hours to go.